Hi, I'm Lisa Wiley, and I grew up in Fair Oaks. I was born in Sacramento County and lived here all my life. I was 16 when I was pregnant and 17 when I had him. I would say that it was more like a kid raising a kid, you know, but still a parent of, you know, discipline and stuff. But it was more of a buddy system, you know, just talking to him like a regular adult and teaching him what I knew and from what I was taught or learned or wasn't taught, and had to teach him, you know, that I never got from my mom. That was one thing that my mother never gave me a hug or told me she loved me. So when my son was born, I made sure that I did that, because hugging someone and telling them that you love them is so powerful and important for people to know. My son was funny. He loved to help people. He loved to fish. Just very silly, had a sense of humor, but most of all, he loved to help people and to serve, even in his brokenness. When he lived in Texas, I have a picture of him with a fish up to his mouth that he caught at the Three Sisters up in Oregon, the creek, that he could just pick a fish up and catch it with bare hands. He became all-star baseball and football there. He'd fish and hunt with his grandma. But we just always laughed and always smiling, and he loved to serve people. When I was a single mom, I used to, we'd go fishing up at Lake Amador, which is a family-owned lake, and we would catfish by night, and we'd beat feet all the way to Sacramento to get him to school. And he told me before he died, he says, "Mom," he says, "remember when we used to go catfishing?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I remember," he goes, "I realized I was going to school with mismatched socks and smelled like fish." He goes, "But I didn't care." And I'm thinking, oh my God, what a bad mommy. I didn't think to clean them up. I was just excited to teach them how to fish. You know, give someone a fish that feeds them for the day, but if you teach them how to fish, it teaches them to feed themselves for life. It was June 20th, 2022, and he was walking home from the corner store, and he was hit from behind and left to die. The camera lights were supposedly down by 9 p.m. for maintenance. And then I went to a community meeting, road and maintenance, and I asked that question, and then later went and talked to the person, and he told me that they don't do it that way. They don't turn their maintenance down for maintenance at 9 p.m. And so that makes me kind of wonder and think more like, why would I be told that if that's not their protocol? So it's kind of disheartening, or not knowing where to go or to seek that information, especially trying to walk through the trauma of it and trying to still continue healing of my own that I've been through. So it's just trying to balance it all. And there was this homeless man that said that he was there the night that my son went, you know, after he got hit, and he was telling the people in charge that my son was still moving and breathing, and they said he was homeless and that he was gone already, so don't worry about it. And that breaks my heart, because when I called 911, or the dispatch of the CHP department, to tell them what I was told, the lady said, "Oh, he's homeless, he's lying, he's on drugs." And I said, "Excuse me? Just because somebody's homeless doesn't mean they do drugs or lie. And just because somebody is homeless and does do drugs doesn't mean that they lie." Because I've been homeless before, you know, and I've done drugs, you know, way back in the 90s and stuff, but I never lied, you know. So it's like, it's really hard to hear someone just in the professional realm of answering that telephone to be giving her personal judgment of thoughts about a human being, giving information. You would think, as someone doing a dispatch, that you need to separate your feelings or your thoughts about somebody. It's like, with them thinking that my son had no ID and that he was just homeless, that's wrong. You know, and even if he was homeless, or someone was homeless that got hit, they're still somebody's child. They're a human being, and we shouldn't disregard them like trash. Landed over here somewhere. This is what I was told. He maybe been hit right there and flew to there. And there was a couple Teslas that got some side views too, but not the license plate. I did actually get to speak with the man who was with my son that same night with his last breath of air. He let me know that he was driving with his daughter, and they saw it, and they stopped and they called 911. So my son was still breathing, and moving, and a man was there to see it and told me about it. It just breaks my heart how we have these professional people in the positions that they are, whether it's a taxpayer position being paid for it or a volunteer. It's like, where's humanity and compassion for people? You know, we shouldn't be so quick to judge or assume. Went into a little office to talk to the CHP person and a gentleman, and there was another gentleman sitting there too. And I mentioned that someone mentioned about geo-tracking, if we could do geo-tracking to see if there's any cell phones in that area around that time. And he kind of chuckled and told me that we don't do that. We don't have funds or the manpower to do it. If it was one of their own family members or co-worker or a political person, they would be on like Donkey Kong or Flies on Poop, I said. California and Sacramento are the highest killings, you know, of hit and run drivings, highest ranking in the country. And it's like, okay, what are they doing to find these people? So it's the mentality that our state and our country has developed by the lack of locking people up or getting them the proper care. I have closure knowing where he's up in heaven fishing, but I don't have closure because of how the CHP officers have handled it or haven't handled it. There's been so many hit and runs around in Carmichael and throughout Sacramento County, and just breaks my heart. There's so many. My son was the 5th one by June 20th. They think that people are just dispensable. There's somebody's child, there's somebody's father, they're a son, a nephew. And my son did something horrific, you know, a kid fight went bad and a kid got hurt. It's not a mistake. He made a choice. It just wasn't the right choice. And he chose to turn around, the fight was on, and he thought he was just cooling him off. But the kid lived, thank God. And my son was very remorseful. He turned himself in, and he got his prison sentence. It was the first time ever in trouble. He was wanting to go in, you know, serve his country in the military and the Marines, and he ended up serving his state in blue. They gave him 2 strikes and a 5-year joint suspension in a year at the RCCC. What he had done was horrible. Yes, the kid got hurt, but the fact is it's not as malicious as they made it out to be. The kid's neighbor was the DA of Sacramento at the time. I'm thinking with a harsh sentence, 2 strikes, for the first time ever being in trouble, barely turned 18, you know, and scared. He told me what had happened, and I said, Robert, you're going to do the right thing for the right reasons. He did end up doing his prison time. And he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Because I do prison ministry, I've been doing it since 2010. And I'm very blessed and honored to be able to do it, to watch men be transformed. Do I believe some should stay in there forever? Absolutely. But I know there's a lot that have really changed their life and made a difference. And that's what we need to be teaching people, is to heal their wounds, their traumas that they've been in, because some people behave and do what they've been taught or what they've been raised in. You know, people get hurt and numb, and they don't know how to process what they've been through. We need to do more rehabilitation, because that's what prison was actually created for years ago, biblically. That it's about reforming, retransformation, you know, into new creation, to help teach people to not keep doing what they're doing. Mistakes is coloring outside the lines, or spelling a word wrong, or adding wrong. These are choices. Whether they're the right choice or a bad choice, whether you choose to do something or you don't choose, it's still a choice. And we have to take responsibility and own it and move forward and grow and learn from it. There's an entrance on that side, and I come around, and then I come and drive through as I'm, you know, if I'm going in that direction and I'm coming home, I'll come through, drive through, say hello, even though I know they're not here. But a lot of trees fell this year, last year, so it's not as green and beautiful, the trees, but they've replanted. But this has been here since 1902, I think it said. I went to Bella Vista. After I had my son, we were taken out of my house 3 days afterwards, and I had to go on the run after I got away, and then the next following year, I went back and made sure I graduated from high school. My son, eagles. We collected eagles. I have like 24 of them. I've given away 3 of them, as I feel led to. But he has 2 little eagles that I would like to put glue right here on each side. I haven't quite got there yet, but that's what I would like to do. Yeah. That was March 14th, 2021, I believe. Oh, that's when he was little and we went to the ocean. Wanted to add that because he loves water. Well, I can say that faith keeps me going, and I have peace that surpasses all understanding, knowing where he is, but I still have a great loss, and I miss him, and I cry. It's disheartening how they handled it, but by me serving other people and doing what I do, it helps me give a purpose to keep moving forward. God has been there my whole life, even though I wasn't raised in a Christian family. But I met this one pastor as a little girl. He lived on my same street. And he met us kids riding our bicycles down the street, and he stopped us all and asked if we would like a tour of his church that he built. And so there was 5 of us, and we went, and he gave us a tour, and then he took us to the altar and prayed over us, anointed our heads with oil, and then gave me this nighttime, bedtime prayer thing that I still have all these years later. And God touched me that night in a very powerful way, and that's what helped me go through the trauma of my life. That nugget of faith without even knowing what it was really. I mean, I knew there was a God. It's a personal walk of what he's done in us and through us and how we perceive it. It's a personal experience, not just something that's a religious form. The light and love of God is just so awesome. Giving a smile unto somebody, you never know what their day's about. In 1989, something happened to me, and I called the crisis hotline to, seek help. And they asked if I had all my teeth, and I said yes. And they told me that you're not bad off as you think you are, that you don't need help, we can't help you. And that made me angry, because here I'm humbling myself, asking for help, and not knowing who to trust by what I've been through. Because when your own parents derail you and betray you, who do you trust? Definitely a spiritual journey through the 90s, and I'm very thankful for them. Would I want to walk through it again? No. But I'm very thankful because it helps make me who I am today. Got baptized, and it was a SOS, saved my soul. And it was so profound and just so life-changing. It just gave me a whole different view. It's what gets me through. It's what got me through. It's carried me through my life. I was homeless a little bit in the 80s and some in the 90s, and walked the streets and met different people. These people that I met would dumpster dive, and so I got to learn how they did it. I got to understand where a lot of them were and how they got there, and then also I ended up becoming homeless. There's people that are broken that don't know they're broken. It's just sad how doctors just want to push pills instead of getting to the root of how they got broken. But yet my faith keeps me moving forward. Well, I found it right before my son died. And it's from a gentleman who is part of the TABIS group from American River College for people who've had traumatic brain injuries. So I've had a lot of concussions. In June 19th, 2017, I was hit by a hit-and-run driver in North Highlands. So being a part of this group, he comes here for equestrian therapy, and that's how I found this place. Being here with Miss Honey, she's got me back into art. She had me, taking drawing classes up here at the Adult Education Center in Auburn. And so this year, I decided to go back to college again. I tell people I'm going after art major/therapist. I'd like to be my first client. I'll even pay myself. I can say that God is the potter and we're the clay. And he keeps reshaping us. And we have to do our part to help reshape us too. And art is a great way of healing and therapy. It's very peaceful. I get to, feed the horses and work with horses. I haven't rode one yet. My hips are bone to bone, so I have to strengthen that first. But I get to work with some of the horses and then pet them and brush them and then feed them. The beauty of it, listening to the birds and watching the trees move in the wind, and it's just beautiful of what they do here in helping with disabled people and people who have had trauma or traumatic events here. I'm really blessed to have found this place, or someone, bringing it to me. And I had to fight to come and have my insurance pay for this. We have to learn to be advocates for ourselves. And sometimes it's hard to do when you don't know who or how to go or where to go. Finding the courage to say, I'm worth it. Or giving yourself permission. It's like, I can do this. I'm worth it. I have value to give back.
Hi, my name is Henny Cowan, and I do therapy, and I work with animals, and we have 29 rescued animals, and I'm a therapist, and I also do equine therapy. I believe that animals are healing, and people don't realize, but horses are like mirrors, and what you see, they see. And we think we can fool them, but we really can't. We really want to reach as many people as we can. It's called Healing Pastures because it's not only healing for the people, but all our animals are rescued. We rescue them, and then they rescue us. Well, I started in 1994 in the Bay Area, and I did it in the Bay Area until 1998. And my first contract was with juvenile probation. It was called Riding High because I worked with at-risk kids. I don't make money, I make people, I make lives, and I make lives better. And as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about what I do. And I tell my kids, do what you love, and then you'll love what you do. I tell people my job is to work myself out of a job, and people do get better. And our mission statement is to provide equine and agriculture-related services to people with special and individual needs to encourage health, happiness, and caring. What we need to do is, like everybody else, as a nonprofit, we need to bring in more money. I'm not going to live forever, and I want this place to live forever, so we got to find a way. I do private therapy, I do family therapy, I do couples, I do kids, I do adults, and I've been doing it since 1985. So I have just a little bit of experience. I try to suit what the person needs. So there's play therapy, there's art therapy. And since I'm so old, I'm trained in them all. So I really have a lot of modalities. And I am totally an out-of-the-box therapist. I am not your traditional therapist. And I don't just sit there and say, okay, tell me your problems. Because half the time they don't even know what the problems are. I get up at 7, I feed my animals. I work from 9 in the morning till 9 at night. My 8 o'clock slot is saved for emergencies. At least half of my clients are kids, and particularly the ones I put on horses. Feeding the goats or being on horses doesn't feel like therapy. But when they learn that the way they are, the horse is going to mirror it back. And when the horse does, they're always very surprised. The horse knows when they're in a good place and when they're in a bad place.
I can say that I've had a very traumatic life. I've learned to just keep smiling. Some days it's easier said than done, but to give someone a smile, you never know what their day's like, and it's important, and I like doing that. But we got to keep learning to change the kaleidoscope. It's not always one perspective. We have to look at all different realms of it to take a look and examine it. With what I've been through, that I'm just so thankful and blessed of the lessons that I've learned, that I can still smile in my traumas. I am just so thankful that my heart is so open in spite of what people have done to me. We need more Miss Honeys out there to help teach people, to encourage, to learn to have confidence and courage and care for ourselves, to learn to give it to others as we heal in our trauma, in our wounds. That's why it's called Sea Ranch, for courage, confidence, and caring. I would like to raise money to help them, come here at Honey's Ranch for billboards, for advertising to help still continue finding my son's killer. And I would like to donate the rest of the money for kids to go to camp. Just because you made a choice back then doesn't have to define us for the rest of our lives. And they say each day's new, but I go by milliseconds. We can keep changing all day long. We don't have to stay stuck in it. God knows who did it, and they won't get away with it. Do I want justice and them to do their time? Absolutely, I do. But I want true repentance. I want them to be changed. Because I know where my son is, but where's their soul going to go?